There's Rudolph on third down, pump fake, then he throws, and a diving catch is made by Pickens.
Well, how about that? After years of riding the bench, being publicly slandered, and having obscenity shouted at him from every man, woman, and child in Pittsburgh, Mason Rudolph might be on the cusp of writing his comeback story. And I couldn't be happier for him. The guy has dealt with more adversity than most quarterbacks have ever. I mean, name me another quarterback that was KO'd in his second NFL start, smashed in the head with his own helmet that same year, and has a fan reception akin to Mad Canada. And yet, Rudolph has been a consummate professional throughout this entire process. From all accounts, he's been a great teammate. The guy just put his head down and worked to get better. And when asked about it, all he would say is that he hoped one day he'd have the chance to pass Kenny Pickett on the depth chart. And by God, against all odds, he has the opportunity now. 2-0 isn't the biggest sample size. I mean, hell, Duck Hodges started out 3-0 before it all fell apart. But Mason's streak might be different. Starting it off, his 2 starts were against potential playoff teams. Duck was beating up on the Cardinals and pre-Burrow Bengals. Rudolph stepped right in and beat the Seahawks and post-Burrow Bengals. Yeah, without Burrow, but you get the point. It's funny that Rudolph beat Geno Smith because his story is starting to feel that way a bit, isn't it? The Rich Gannon arc, if you will. Beating Jake Browning and Geno Smith isn't going to be enough to get you into the Hall of Fame exactly, but here's my overall question. What path does Mason have that ends with him being QB1? I'm not saying it needs to happen right now. We still have another regular season game and a potential wildcard match to evaluate. But, I mean, hell, what if Mason wins a playoff game? Like, do you think Kenny Pickett was going to win us a playoff game this year? I mean, I don't, and I love Kenny, and I still do. I don't want this to come off as an anti-Kenny Pickett video. I still think Kenny Pickett can be a franchise quarterback, unpopular opinion. Like, you're telling me Kenny Pickett wouldn't basically be like Alex Smith with a great mind like Sean McVay or Mike McDaniels feeding him information? Like, no, he absolutely could be that. But I'm interested in the better man winning the job, especially in an offensively illiterate town like Pittsburgh. And at least right now, that appears to be Mason Rudolph. And if you told any Steeler fan that at the start of this year, they'd either A, cry blood, or B, fight you. But listen, it's true. It's damn true.
Hey you, I know you're probably fast forwarding this segment and that's cool, but if you didn't, just a friendly reminder that your favorite YouTube show can't make ad revenue. So if you want there to be a future for 5-Star, you gotta slide over to Patreon at patreon.com/5SMU and drop $4 or $7 in the jar. That's like $30 for the rest of the season. I know you can swing it. You get a free welcome gift and Discord access where you can chat with me and the rest of the gang live during games. Do it. Now roll the game.
The Steelers' offense has produced 30 points in back-to-back games for the first time since Dwight Eisenhower was president.
Who is Dwight Eisenhower? I don't know.
How long is this going to take?
Our fan base has done a complete 180 seemingly and is now asking Mace Rude to sign their babies. This is the most excited we've been since the off-season. Mike Tomlin might hate playing the hot hand, but even he couldn't ignore the elephant in the room. And think about how much real estate that covers. That dude never plays the hot hand. Does this continue? Does Mason Rudolph, after all these years and all the adversity he's gone through, finally win over the fan base and become our next long-term quarterback? Well, I don't know yet. We here at 5-Star are a pro Mason Rudolph crowd. Shout out to our shorts editor, Frayne, who I'm convinced has Mason Rudolph posters on their wall. There's no doubt Mason has all the tools needed to be that guy. I mean, he's had the best arm in the Steelers quarterback room since he was drafted. It's pretty easy to tell that Ben felt that Mason was actual competition at first, and Roethlisberger, as you'd expect, handled it like Roethlisberger, despite what he tries to tell you nowadays.
There's no issue, I made that very clear from the beginning. It's not a personal issue. I have no problem with Mason. I like the first name Mason. Rudolph was my favorite reindeer.
But after all the shit he's dealt with, after the concussions, the public slander, getting helmeted, getting benched, losing his starting job to Duck, not having a quarterback coach, having Randy Fichtner calling plays for him, getting passed over for Mitch Trubisky, and having to ride the bench as they drafted his replacement in the first round. After all of that, if Mason Rudolph can put it together and become the guy he's always been capable of being, it'll be one of the greatest comeback stories in Pittsburgh Steelers history.